Today, I'm going to be showing self-taught students like yourself everything you need to know to thrive at learning piano. And to accomplish this, I'm going to be sharing with you learning resources, equipment you're going to need, how to practice objectively, and then we're going to wrap it all together with a roadmap so that your path forward is crystal clear. One of the first learning resources you're going to want to be aware of is a piano lesson book. One of the reasons these are so great is that they introduce you to topics and pieces in order from the very beginning, which is a great structured way of learning. Where these fall a little flat is you don't get instructional videos or a teacher with them. So if you don't understand the lesson in the page or two it gives you, well, you're kind of out of luck. But either way, if you have a teacher or not, this is a great resource to have because it's great to have supplementary pieces to play in order of difficulty, and these are great for that. I highly recommend this one. This is the Alfred Adult All-in-One Piano Course. And I also recommend, now I was searching through my book catalog here at home, and unfortunately I couldn't find this one. I don't know what student of mine stole it, but I highly recommend you check out this series as well. The Adult Piano Adventures All-in-One Piano Course book. This one I really like because it includes really fun songs to play. I do find the lessons to be a little lacking compared to the Alfred series in terms of explanation, but the pieces are better. So I like this one better for explanation. I like the Adult Piano Adventures for the pieces. So if you can, I would pick up both. The second type of learning resource are piano courses, and there are plenty of great piano courses out there. However, I can only vouch for the ones that I made over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. Just like the piano lesson books, they introduce you to topics and pieces in an order which makes sense for beginners. But unlike these, they do include instructional videos, and you do have me to email if you have any questions, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. You're also going to gain access to notes, worksheets, and sheet music around the pieces that you're learning. So it is going to help you not only learn each topic, but learn, practice, and master them as well. I have courses for music theory, ear training, sight reading, and anything else you would need to become a well-rounded musician. Feel free after this lesson to check out my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, to learn more. I don't want this whole thing to be an ad for my courses, so let's continue. So a quick question you may have is,
Tim, should I get the books or your courses? What should I do?
if you can, I would get both, because again, these have great pieces to learn. I don't have all these pieces included in my courses. My courses have some different pieces. So this is a great supplementary tool if you do decide to get my courses. There are a lot more websites and great learning resources I have to share with you, but we're going to hold those off until the end. For now, I want to go over a quick list of equipment you're going to need as a self-taught learner. The first obvious thing you're going to need is a keyboard. Now, specifically, what should you look for in a keyboard? Well, the following: 88 fully weighted keys. That's what you want to look for. And I have a couple models I'm going to suggest to you. You want to make sure that it has a foot pedal. And if it doesn't have a foot pedal, you're going to have to buy a foot pedal. And you want to make sure that it has inbuilt speakers. Actually, the fancier pianos like mine, this is a Roland RD700. This one does not include built-in speakers. Actually, the cheaper entry models do include speakers, and the suggestions I'm going to give you actually include those. So 88 full-weighted keys, inbuilt speakers, consider that if it has them or not, and then whether it has a foot pedal or not. Here are the two models that I recommend for beginners. So I mentioned a second ago, this is a high-end model, the Roland RD series. I think there's an RD2000 now. The RD700 was like 15 years ago. I got this keyboard. Still works. Fantastic, by the way, if you want a higher level keyboard. But some budget models you want to be aware of are the Yamaha, and again, see how it says 88 key weighted action key digital piano. This is model P143B. I know it's kind of strange. And it does have built-in speakers from what I saw. So you can always, do a control find, type in speakers. And by looking, you can see that there is a speaker here in the back listed as a feature. Another entry-level model is this Roland keyboard, FP10. Now, this one's pretty comparable to the Yamaha 88 key. I've played the Yamahas before. I haven't played this particular Roland model, but I will tell you that Roland is just like, here's Yamaha, and Roland is like a step above Yamaha. So maybe you want to get the Roland model, but I do think that these two are both pretty comparable entry-level keyboards. So again, you want to look through the features and just make sure that it says 88, and it might say hammer action, same kind of thing, progressively weighted. They like to use all these marketing terms, but just make sure there are 88 weighted keys, and you should be good. And this one does include onboard speakers, which is why I recommend those two for those starting out. Here are some things that you might not have considered when purchasing a keyboard, and that is that you're going to need a music stand. Again, my fancy keyboard from a while ago, even the ones today, a lot of them don't include music stands. And that's because I think they put all the money and research into the piano itself, and anything else, they're like, well, they can just buy it extra. But anyway, just make sure that your piano includes a music stand. The two pianos that I showed you don't seem to. I didn't look really in depth, but it didn't look like they did. Another thing you're going to want to get is a piano bench. Now, question I get sometimes is,
Tim, can I learn on a chair to learn how to play piano?
no, you can't, because a chair, if you look at your chair, right, go around and find a chair. A lot of chairs, even your school chair, if you go to school, they aren't flat. What they do is they start flat and then they kind of like curve in for your butt, I guess. And while this might be comfortable sitting up and down and not really having to do anything, however, with piano, we are doing a lot of pivoting here on your core. And if you're sitting in a chair, I was testing this out last night. I guess I should have brought my chair back in. My office chair, it kind of does bow in the middle there. And it actually puts strain on your back when you're doing this. You have to do this type of movement all the time with piano. And if you have those two like sides pushed in a little bit, you'll actually feel that kind of push on your back, and it's not as comfortable. So believe it or not, the flat bench, even though it's not the most comfortable thing to sit when you're watching TV, is the way to go when you're learning piano. Try to get an adjustable one. There's a lot of them that are just kind of like one height, but as you know, we aren't all one height. This brings me to another important point, which is a keyboard stand, right? Some keyboards don't come with a keyboard stand. In fact, you're gonna have to check the two that I gave you if you want to get those to make sure they do include a keyboard for the keyboard. I actually wish I had you can see it right here. There's a stand right here. The question I get, actually I have a fun story. Well, it's a short story. When I first got this keyboard, we didn't consider about the keyboard stand. You know, this is way back, my parents bought me this for graduating high school, actually. And we didn't know it needed a keyboard stand. And so the first few weeks, I actually played it on this table, or you can't see it, on this office table over here. The problem with this is this office table is a bit higher than a stand would be. Stands are like a specific height. You can even adjust them too, which is great because we're all different heights. So please get a piano stand. Do not put it on a table, and please don't practice sitting in a regular chair. Another piece of equipment you're going to want to get is a metronome. A metronome helps you maintain a consistent tempo by providing a series of annoying clicks and beeps that you're going to have to play along to. And I shouldn't say it's annoying because you really want to have a good attitude about the metronome. This isn't something you're going to be practicing with the first few weeks, but you are going to want to add it in sooner rather than later. It really helps with not only developing razor sharp rhythm skills, but it also helps you identify problems in your music, because if you're able to keep up with the metronome and then all of a sudden you can't, that means that measure or whatever part that is needs more work. Maybe your fingering isn't good, and the metronome doesn't lie. It will tell you where all the mistakes are. You're going to need this as a piece of equipment. What the heck is this? Well, this is a tripod for your phone. You put your phone in here, it holds it in one spot. And why is that useful? Well, you can use it to record yourself playing and then look back at it, which is actually really useful, not only in identifying mistakes or slowdowns, but also making sure that you're making progress in the long run. Because if you look at a recording you did a month or two ago, you should be able to see a difference in your playing. And if you don't see a difference, well, then you need to make some adjustments to your practice strategy. The other reason I'm bringing this up is you either want a mirror, camera, or I actually would just use the phone tripod. The reason a mirror is good, or having a camera on you is good, I'm actually very fortunate in this way because I can see myself at all times pretty much. And the reason that's a great thing is when we sit at the piano, the tendency over the many hours is that we eventually start looking quite turtley We start to turtle in because our posture isn't good. And by having a mirror nearby or this, you can double check your posture. Just keep in mind that as you learn piano, you will get better with your posture anyway, but it's only made possible if you have that mirror or the camera to adjust accordingly. And then another question you may have is, do you need a microphone? Well, maybe not like this, but they do make little microphones for iPhone and Android, which do improve the audio quality a bit. So if you're recording just on your phone microphone and it sounds very muffled, just pick up a cheap microphone off of Amazon and you can improve your quality a little bit like that. Now, this type of thing, which improves the quality a lot, is a whole lesson on its own. And real quick, I'll tell you how it works. I have my piano. I have this thing called an audio interface. And I'll try to bring it up on Amazon to show you. The cables go from my thing into the audio interface, into my computer, and that helps record it at the highest quality it can. And then my microphone also plugs into that. It's a Behringer, Binger, audio interface. And that helps interface with my computer. If you want a whole lesson on how to set this up, let me know. If not, I want to continue. So let's get on to the next thing. Next, I'm going to teach you about goal setting and proper practice. How to set goals. So you want to be setting goals every time you practice. In the first few weeks, you may not know what goals to set because you don't really have any music knowledge to really base your goals on. But as you start playing for the first few weeks, and we'll talk about the first few weeks here in a little bit, after the first few weeks, you want to start making specific goals on things you want to accomplish during this lesson. And this is going to help you make a lot more progress in the long run. An example of a good goal is work on measure 12 of Moonlight Sonata. It's a great goal because it's very specific. It's a specific piece, and it's a specific measure of the piece, probably where I've been messing up a whole lot, which is usually probably where you want to start your practice. Another good goal would be like say you're learning your scales for the first time, learn the G major scale. That's a great goal to have. It's specific. What you don't want is goal 1, practice the piano. Goal 2, practice scales. Goal 3, play a piece or two. It's just not specific enough, and you're gonna, if you have goals like that, you're gonna end up noodling around, they call that, where you're not really working on anything specific that's gonna get you ahead. You're just kind of wasting your time. A student in one of my comments, unfortunately I don't remember what specific video it was, but they were talking about something very interesting. They were talking about how they gamify their piano practice. And what they do is they assign points to every goal that they hit, specific goal. And then after they accumulate, say you get 1 point for each goal. And then after over the weeks, months, they accumulate 1,000 points. They treat themselves to some sort of I don't know, they buy themselves ice cream or some treat. You know what I mean? It just gives them something to work towards. And some people and students work really well doing this. However, you don't want to ruin it. You don't want to be giving yourself a treat every time you do something little on the piano. It's just going to kind of ruin it. So I would do like a long-term point-based system. Like I said, a point for each one. And then I would do it like every 1,000, which would take you maybe a year to get, or several months to get to. Because like I said, you don't want to be rewarding yourself all the time. But think about that. I think that would work for a lot of students. I didn't even promise this in the beginning, but I want to talk about 5 common problems that self-taught students make all the time, and it's really tripping them up. Are you ready? Number 1, skipping important topics. I'm talking about how to read sheet music. Yes, you need to learn how to read sheet music. Do not skip it. Music theory, rhythm. You'd be surprised how many people kind of learn the basics of rhythm, but then they don't really practice it while they're actually playing piano or practicing the piano. So any of that important stuff, like how music works, theory, how to read music, rhythm. The second common problem that piano students face, especially self-taught students, is actually all do. Everybody does this. I do this too still sometimes. You're practicing too fast. The tendency is when we are playing a piece, especially one we know, right? What do you want to do? You want to play at full speed right off the bat. Now, I have played that piece before, so I can manage that. But slow down your practice. Whatever you're playing now, slow it down a little bit. Even pieces that we're not familiar with, the tendency is to practice too fast, and that will end up causing you to skip over mistakes and not be as objective when you practice. Number 3, I actually mentioned this with number 1 by mistake, but that's not paying attention to rhythm. You should not only learn rhythm, but be actively counting as well. It's kind of a skill that takes some time to get used to. It's kind of like playing with the metronome. Actually, when you first start playing with the metronome, it's going to be a nightmare. But trust me that you will get used to it and you'll be glad that you did. Common problem number 4 is students are using things like synesthesia to learn piano. No, 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 no. If you don't know what synesthesia is, it's like Guitar Hero, where these colored bars fall down. You do not want to learn piano this way. It's okay for learning like 1 or 2 pieces, but you're not actually learning piano, right? It's like if I sat down next to you and I said, okay, play this note, play this note, play this note, play this note. We did it like a million times. And then you eventually figured out, oh, this is the pattern he's doing. Okay. But did you actually learn how to play the piece or learn piano? No. So don't use synesthesia. Do it the right way. It's okay as like a novelty or something, but please don't rely on it. Number 5 common problem is too much pedal. So the sustain pedal, you can't even see it unfortunately from this angle, but the sustain pedal, when you hold it down, it sustains the notes. Gee, how crazy is that? And it really is useful for chords, playing notes separately as arpeggios, because the sustain pedal will sustain those notes together and you can kind of hear the harmony or chords a bit better. But what a lot of students will do is they will do something like this. Ew, you hear that? That is because I'm holding the pedal too much, and what's happening is the different chords together, instead of having like a break between each one like this, the pedal bleeds them together. And you can even hear it there. It's almost like if I took my hands and just pressed all the keys at once. So be careful, too much pedal or not using it enough. If you don't know how to use the pedal, start adding it into your pieces. Proper pedal usage actually adds a lot to a piece, and too much really takes away. And students will use the pedal. I know your secret, students. Students, if they didn't practice a certain measure or something, or like they're fudging it and they didn't take the time to correct it, they'll just slam down on that pedal and play through it real fast. And they hope that the teacher isn't smart enough to know. But trust me, we know what you're doing. Up next are some things I think that you should work on as a self-taught student. And then after that, I'm going to give you the roadmap that kind of ties everything together real easy for you. But let's talk about some things in your first few weeks that you should be working on as a self-taught student. First, you're going to have to learn the layout of the keyboard. You're going to have to know there's a C, E, G, A, B, C, C sharp. Every note on the keyboard, you're going to have to know. Second thing is you're going to have to learn how to read music. So not only do you have to know the notes on the staff, like that's an F, you're going to have to know that that F is right here on the piano. Once you learn about reading music, you want to learn basic rhythm. You want to know that this is a measure of 4/4. These are 4 quarter notes. Each one gets 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would learn about all the common time signatures as well, like 4/4, 2/4, and 3/4. Next, I would start learning very simple pieces. Usually you're going to be starting with a 5-finger exercise, going from C to G, down back to C. This is what we call C position. And if you're wondering how are you going to remember all this, don't worry. Like I said, we have a roadmap here coming up. I'm just showing you some context here. And then once you learn some of those, you want to start learning pieces in order of difficulty. How are you going to find pieces in order of difficulty? Remember, I have courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, but this is a great resource also. And then real quick, some other things you're going to want to work on are music theory, sight reading, and chords, which I'll help you out here in a minute with. To help you learn some of these basic things, I want to share with you some of the videos that I've made that are going to help you along the way. And don't worry, I'm going to link these all to you in a playlist at the very end of the lesson. The first lesson I have that you want to check out is how to read music in one easy lesson. This is a lesson I only put out a few months ago, but it's going to work you through how to read music from the very beginning and literally every strategy that I have for reading music. You can learn it in an afternoon. The next video I want you to check out of mine is how to read basic rhythms, the complete version. And this one, just like the how to read music one, introduces you to everything you need to know about rhythm, at least the very basics. And it's really comprehensive. So by the end of that lesson, you can learn all about how rhythm works. You can do it in like an afternoon. The last and most important lesson I want you to be aware of is this one called How to Learn Piano as Fast as Humanly Possible. Again, a more recent lesson, but this one I really highly recommend you check out because it's a sequel, well, sort of a sequel to this lesson, right? I'm introducing you to the things as a self-taught learner, and this actually really drills in a lot of the things we're talking about today in depth. So you want to check out that one, and don't worry, I'm going to include all these in a playlist for you to watch right after this lesson at the end. I actually want to tell you a story here in a second, but I want to give you 3 really quick practice tips to ensure that you're going to have more success practicing. Number 1, block out the same time each day. Ideally, you want to make practice a habit and something you do at the same time. It's like brushing your teeth, right? You probably do it around the same time. And by making it the same time each day, it makes it easier for your brain because our brains are really geared towards patterns and falling into patterns. And if you keep the pattern the same, it will help you out. The number 2 practice tip I have for you is to eliminate distractions. Yes, the house cat that you have that always jumps up on you, you're trying to read, play, do anything, needs to be left outside. Well, hopefully they don't scratch the door too much anyway. Or any husbands or wives, just, I got to practice. You know what I mean. I mentioned this earlier, but be objective when you practice. Speaking of being objective, it's story time. If you've been watching my lessons for a while, you know that I always do a story time or 2 in each video. And here's a story time today. It's about being objective when you practice. So when I was trying out for Westchester University School of Music, that's where I went, my teacher had a planned vacation that he planned like a year in advance, like pretty close to the audition time that I was supposed to do the audition for Westchester. And he was pretty nervous going on this vacation, but like I said, it was a family vacation for him. I didn't expect him to not do his vacation for me. But anyway, he told me, he was like, all right, now when I'm gone, you have to practice, and I hope you're going to practice a lot. And he told me what to practice. Well, I didn't have a lot of practice time. I forget exactly what was going on. I think some girl had me tripped up or something, or like, I think I had finals going on, but I didn't have a lot of time to practice for the audition. So what I did was I made a practice list of the stuff he told me to work on, and I really sat down each day and I just nailed out those things. It took like 15, 20 minutes each day. He told me I had to practice for like an hour, right? And I did practice for an hour before, but I wasn't being objective. So I was actually able to boil down the lessons or the practice sessions in a much smaller time, just knocking out each thing. Anyway, the conclusion of the story is he came back from his vacation and I played for him. And he was like, wow, you've made such a great improvement. What was your secret? And I said, I was just, I wrote down the things you wanted me to hit each day. And I just hit those things, and that was it. I was like, I didn't practice any more than I usually do. In fact, a little bit less. I didn't want to tell him that. But that's the moral of the story, is that like if you're, and I got into Westchester University, by the way. So if you are objective while you practice, it will make huge differences. It's better to really focus in. I mean, practice as long as you're able to each day. Don't let what I'm about to tell you, dictate your practice schedule. But it's better to practice 20 minutes super focused each day than it is to practice an hour just kind of like noodling around. And I was a teenager at the time, and teenagers, in my opinion, are the masters of just noodling around. Do you remember at the beginning of the lesson that I said that there were more resources I wanted you to be aware of? More books, more websites. Well, here they are. We're going to go through them quick. One is a sight reading book series. Sight reading is being able to look at a piece of music for the first time and being able to play it by sight. Now I could make, and in fact I am going to make a lesson here pretty soon all about how to do sight reading properly, but the one thing you want to get is a sight reading, just like the piano lesson books. You want to get the piano lesson books first, but you want to look into getting a sight reading book as well. I love this series, Improve Your Sight Reading. It is by Paul Harris. You can find it on Amazon. You want to start with level 1, obviously, if you're a beginner. But the great thing is, again, they introduce you to sight reading examples from the very basic stuff, and then they move along in order. So if you follow the book series, you won't have any gaps in your knowledge or playing ability. By the way, sight reading is one of the most important things you can possibly practice. The next website I want to share with you is musictheory.net. I love this website so much. There's lessons but I especially love the exercises. So if you're learning how to read music and you're like, oh, I don't have any flashcards or anything, or maybe you're learning your chords and you're like, how do I practice this stuff? You know what I mean? Well, you go here, and I have a lot of lessons on this, by the way, that introduced here. And here is basically a note reading quiz, and I can say, oh, that's a D, and I'm going to find it on the piano as well. And it's just a great way to practice all this rudimentary things that I've been showing you that you really need to know to learn piano. Things like key signatures and music theory and things like that. Musictheory.net, write that down. A very similar website is Teoria.com. It's pretty much the same thing, but with different exercises. So make sure to check out both. And lastly, on my YouTube channel, or a lot of YouTube channels, there are a ton of lessons that I have. So you want to click on the playlist section and check out the playlists, the many, many playlists that I have around all these topics that we talked about today. I'm going to make one at the end of this lesson. I'm going to link you to. And I especially want you to watch that one. But there are tons more on the channel to look at. So as I promised in the beginning, I'm going to give you a roadmap that's going to kind of tie everything we talked about together, because we talked about a lot today, and you need to make sure that your path forward is crystal clear. But before that, I just want to say a quick thank you to all those that have supported the channel over the years, from the regular viewers to the memberships, to the members, to the mods, to people that sign up for the courses over on my website. I just wanted to quickly say thank you so much. Without your support, we wouldn't have been able to reach nearly as many students as we have. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now you're here for the roadmap. I promise, and I'm going to deliver. And it's more simple than you would think. And I'll explain. Step number 1, get a keyboard and all that equipment I mentioned. So you're going to need a keyboard stand. You're going to need a bench to sit on. You're going to need a music stand, a metronome. That you don't need that right away, but you're going to need it soon, and a piano book and or course. And I just dropped something. Sorry about that. And one of these. So once you get one of these, a piano, all the stuff you get to start, you are ready to start. Now you start by beginning your course, or just starting the book, opening the first few pages and start reading and playing what they're going to tell you. Ideally, I like to go over as far as you can get in a week. You don't want to push too far, too fast. And one thing I want to tell you is, like, when you first start learning, these pages are going to be super easy. You're going to breeze through them several pages a week pretty easily. But what's going to happen, and I'm just letting you know this is totally normal, when you get to the middle of the book, right? That's close to the middle. What's going to happen is you're going to start to slow down. Things are going to get more complicated. You're not going to be able to go as fast. And I'm just letting you know it's normal. Because I have students that begin this book, boom, 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 boom. We get through like 10 pages a week. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh man, I've been on this one. I remember the specific example, but I remember a student of mine was really, really distraught when they got to the middle of the book. And they asked me, like,
Tim, why is it taking me so long to learn this piece when in the beginning we were just, rapid firing them off?
And it's because that's normal. And by the time you get to the end of the book, they're even harder. And it's going to take you, instead of going through 10 pages in a week, it might take you several weeks to get through a couple of pages. So just keep that in mind. I would only move on to the next piece or topic once you feel you have a grasp on what you're currently working on. Work hard, but don't rush. So number 1 was get all the equipment. Number 2 was start on your course and or book. Number 3 then is to what? Be objective when you practice. Again, the first few weeks, you might not know what goals to have, but trust me, by working in this book for a few weeks, you're going to start to know, like, oh yeah, I should really spend more time on this thing I was struggling with. So a great way to find your goals is think about, like, what have I been struggling with? What could I be spending my time on that's really going to get me ahead? Remember to be specific as you can. You don't want to just be like, oh, practice for 30 minutes. I mean, that's an okay goal. It's better than nothing. But you want to make sure, and I told you that story about how objective practice can really help you. So get the equipment, use the equipment, and practice objectively is your roadmap to success. Yes, you're still going to have to remember a lot of the other stuff we talked about in that lesson, but if you remember those 3 core things, it will set you on the right path. We're not done. There's another bonus section here I have for you, and then we're going to wrap it up, I promise, after this. Bonus section, common questions I get. I'm just going to rapid fire them off as I see them. Do you need a teacher? Question 1. Not 100%. However, if you have the money and the availability to get a teacher, why not? I think it could help you out. Or say you don't have the money to take, or the patience to take, or the time to take lessons every single week. You can just hire a teacher really for a lesson here or there to help you out when you need it. So a teacher isn't entirely necessary, but if you have access to one, use it. Number 2, how long is it going to take to learn? That's the wrong question. You should just learn your stuff and just keep going. That answer is very different for each person. You can actually start learning pieces though in just a few weeks. Like you'd be surprised in just a few weeks you can start playing like Mary Had a Little Lamb, Jingle Bells, some very simple stuff. And then to master piano, it takes a lifetime. Number 3 is, should I use stickers on my piano? People like to use stickers telling them what notes are what on the piano, and the answer is no. Number 4, how do I stay motivated? Try to remember why you started to begin with. Listen to artists and pieces that motivate you. And then 3, just understand that learning piano is a ebbs and flows type of process where sometimes you're going to feel really into it, like you love it a lot, and then sometimes you're going to feel like quitting. Possibly in the beginning, or hopefully a lot of that's going to happen in the beginning. Just know that that's a normal part of the process. Some people, when they fall out of love with piano, they think it's going to be forever and that it's like the end of their piano playing days. It's not. It's just a normal part of the process, right? It's like being in a relationship. It's not all like super high up all the time. You have to learn how to navigate the bumps. 5, how do I progress faster? You progress faster by practicing and being objective. And also, I have a lesson here at the end. I'm going to link you. I know I keep saying it. It's a lesson called How to Learn Piano as Fast as Possible. And I want you to watch that lesson after this one. Number 6, can I just learn to play piano by ear? Yeah, but not really. To understand music theory and the way things work, you have to learn how to read music. Now, I do want to make an important point. If you're somebody that only learns how to read music, right? There's 2 different students, really, I find. One that's like super, they understand like the reading real easy, the theory real easy, but they don't understand the ear training part of it. It's kind of 2 different parts of the brain. And there's some people that understand the ear training part of it. They can hear all this stuff. But when it comes to like stuff written down on a page, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. So what I encourage people to do is this. If you are a like note reader, right? I call your note readers and ear trainers. Note readers should learn more about ear training, and ear trainers should learn more about note reading. And you want both of those skills to be as good as you can moving forward learning piano. Okay, I have a comment that I want you to leave down below. By sharing the answer with me, it's going to help me understand you as the student a lot better, but it's also going to help me make better lessons in the future. And the question is this: what is your struggle learning as a self-taught student? I would love to know. I think other students would love to know. So please just take a second or a minute to let me know down below. And we have the final tip that we are now wrapping everything up with. Are you ready for it? So remember before I mentioned that there's a way to learn piano as fast as possible. We talked a little bit about it today with being objective, but there's actually a lot more to understand about this stuff. And I have a lesson that I want you to check out here. I'm going to put it in a playlist with a lot of the other videos that I recommended today. And if you have some free time this weekend or today, make sure to check out all those lessons. And if you don't have time, bookmark them and watch them later. Your piano teacher, Tim here. Thank you so much for coming. And I'll see you, yes you, in the next lesson.